Hi guys, this is Mrs. Kusich working on Exponents and Root Toolkit. A lot of really what I want to emphasize with you guys today is how to use the calculator. So if our first example is 2 to the 4th power, remember that we're going to hit the 2, we're going to hit the caret, and then we hit the 4. And as you are watching your video, you should notice that that is happening in the calculator, that you can see it says 2 to the 4th power. You're going to hit enter and it turns out that that's 16. 3 to the 0 power, well, I'm going to go ahead and try it on my calculator. When I hit 3 to the 0 power, we should notice that equals 1. Because like we talked about earlier this year, anything to the 0 power is 1. So if I take -5 to the 2nd power, you guys, it's really important that I understand that -5 to the 2nd power is really saying -5 times 5, where -5 in parentheses to the 2nd power is really saying -5 times -5. So hopefully you understand that this one should have a -25 and this one is a +25. This is one of the hardest concepts to understand, but if you have it written out, it is a lot easier to understand why this answer is -25 and this answer is +25. Truly, in this one here, we are taking that 5 to the 2nd power and then we are making it negative. Where on this one, we're taking -5 and multiplying it by -5. I'm going to now do 0 to the 3rd power. Some of you might think you know the answer, and I hope most of you did. Remember, 0 to the 3rd power is really just saying 0 times 0 times 0. Well, that answer is 0. If we're taking -3 to the 3rd power, it's really -3 times -3 times -3. Again, the negatives are included this time because they are inside the parentheses. So the answer for that one is -27. Most of these problems here, I would not expect you to be using your calculator to do, but remember, if you can figure out 2 to the 4th power and then you're asked to do something more difficult like 729 to the 8th power, if you know how to put it in your calculator in this version, practice that and you know what that answer is, and then you can do the other problem that I had suggested. The other half of this is fractions to a certain power. So this is 2/3 to the cubed. So that's really saying 2 times 2 times 2 is 8, and 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. So that's just 8 over 27. Now this next problem is a little different. This next problem is to a negative power. Remember, negative power really means that we have to take the reciprocal. So it's really saying we have 3/2 to the 3rd power, which gives us 27 over 8. Very similar to the 1/10 to the 2nd power. 1 times 1 is 1. 10 times 10 is 100. On this one, we are really flipping the problem over because it is a negative exponent, and then we're squaring it. So the answer to this problem is 100. On these last couple problems, I'll show you on the calculator how to do it. We've kind of had a brief discussion about this in the past, but if I want to take the cube root of -27, I actually am going to hit the math button on this calculator and go down, and if you see, I can go down to 4, and that's going to be cube root. If it's a different root, I would have used the number 5. So I'm using cube root of -27. And I'm hitting enter. Whoopsie. And I made a mistake. So I'm going to go to my error. And it turned out I used the minus sign instead of the negative sign. So now we're going to go ahead and hit enter. And it turns out -3. Remember what the cube root of -27 is actually saying? Is it's saying what number multiplied 3 times gives us -27. I get that 3 times from that 3 right there. So this problem below is telling us what number multiplied by itself 5 times is going to be 32. So I'm going to hit the math button again on this calculator, and I'm going to hit number 5, and I want it to be the 5th root, and then I'm going to put my cursor inside the parentheses, 32, and I'm going to hit enter, and I'm going to get 2. Please don't hesitate to send me an email if you are having a tough time getting your calculator to work correctly. We can always do this again using Desmos and showing you that, although I do think I did that last week in the meet session a little bit. So there is your toolkit for exponents and roots. It really is going to be important for you guys to understand how to take the root of a number and not just be taking the square root. Let me know if you need any help.